Peace in my life is growing because I choose love. Love's always present, it's what I'm made of. I choose love. We are a part of each other. We are one.
Please join me in prayer. As we just breathe into this moment and turn our attention to this time together, even though we are distanced, we know that we are connected. We know that we are one. We know that we are one with God. And we know that Spirit is present, that the very energy that is God, the very being that we know as this universal wisdom permeates all things, all lives, and is here now, in this moment, in this space. And I know that each and every one of us is connected to the divine and in the divine. And knowing this, we are comforted knowing that we are never alone. And we are reassured knowing that whatever it is we choose to do, our faith in God supports us in every step on the journey. And so I just call this time blessed, I call it perfect, I call it good, as we turn our attention to these next few moments and we turn at everything else outside of this time. We let it all go, we let it all be. And so it is. A few weeks ago, I believe it was early April, I talked about rising up. Having that ability to rise up. And when you think about how you are when you wake up from whatever sleep patterns you have, most of us it's probably in the morning, but not necessarily. You rise up, you literally get up and lift your physical being up and out of bed or wherever it is you have been sleeping. And we want to look some more at that idea of rising up and that taking action and what it is we're being called to do. And how this supports us in our lives today. We are being called to share and demonstrate a love that is so powerful it can overcome anything and everything. And I think the interesting piece about this idea of love is that some of us think it's just this mushy feely thing. It's that little trip hammer thing that goes on in your heart when you meet someone or when you're involved in something that's new and exciting and we call that love, but that's not all it is. It is so much more. Because love is inclusive, and it is full of energy, and it is full of action. And the love that we are talking about now, the love I'm going to talk about today, is a powerful energy that can take all of humanity, and move us into a paradigm, a new paradigm of consciousness. Today, the talk title is Revolutionary Love. And when you even consider that word revolutionary, it sparks some ideas in you. It gives you a sense that there's something so much more to this than maybe what we had once considered. You see, our teaching, religious science, is radical and evolutionary. It's not just peaceful, it's not just calm, it's not just this basis that says you just get to be, sit and meditate and these types of things, although that is a piece of it. But in that place of evolutionary teaching, we are transforming lives. We are supporting people who are lost and who feel broken and who have feel the need to be healed and whole, and we are moving them and helping them transform their lives into something so much more. We are instructed to pray. And we talk a lot about prayer. I talk a lot about prayer because that's something that's my go-to practice all the time. And we're encouraged to pray without ceasing. But that's not all we do. That isn't all there is. And what I want you to keep in mind is that in this place of where we are and who we are, we were never told it was going to be easy. It can be simple, but it might not be easy. We might be sparked to do something that makes us a little uncomfortable, makes us feel challenged. So we're going to talk about revolutionary love and the fact that it's about taking action. I think many of us, as religious scientists, have been accused of being the woo-woo group of people. We're the tree huggers, and we're the people that believe that peace should permeate everything, and although we do believe that peace should permeate everything, we don't just sit back and chant. We don't just sit by and pray. We have action items involved in all that we do and all that we teach. We are taught that when an entire nation works together and prays together, a great moral and spiritual power, an actual soul force, will penetrate the entire world. The entire world. This can bring confidence and calm judgment and right action. Right action. Think about the places in your life and in the places in our society right now today where we are seeing evidence of right action. We are on the brink of a new paradigm. We're seeing it everywhere. Ernest Holmes says this: freedom need never be ashamed of itself, nor liberty bow to despair. God is always on the side of right, and faith will always conquer fear. Faith will always conquer fear. And so again, I remind you, if you have fear in your life and if you're feeling that sense of fear, I invite you to look to your faith and to look to where you plant your foundation, where you ground yourself, and what is that about, and what do you tap into? Because if your experience is fear, then there isn't any faith, and you're not putting all of your energy into that dependency on this powerful spirit that we talk about. You're putting it into the idea of fear. And it's time to shift that. I learned a lot of lessons about faith in 2020. To be able to continue to move on and keep plugging on, and to know that things were going to move through that experience of pandemic, and we were going to move past some of the issues of racial unrest and all of the things that were going on, that something else was coming, that something better was coming. And now here we are already in the 5th month of the year, and it feels like, will it ever end? But it is. It's changing. It's shifting. And all we need to do is maintain that faith and belief that we can be a part of it. We had many stories, conditions that were brought to our attention. And I want to talk for just a few moments about an amazing, incredible woman and her book. Her name is Valerie Carr, and she is the author of the book See No Stranger. And this book was copyrighted in 2020. I've had it for a few months now, and it's incredible. And she talks in this book about revolutionary love. I highly recommend it, but if you're not a book reader and you don't feel like that's something you want to sit down with, it's a pretty good-sized book. Valerie Carr also gave a talk in 2017, a TED Talk, on revolutionary love. So you can watch her 20-minute talk if that's a preference for you. She's so inspirational, and I want you to know that, you know, she's an activist, she's an attorney, she has worked in the arena of civil unrest for most of her life. So she says some things and she brings forth some things that may kind of make you feel uneasy or challenged. But that's one of the things that I admire about her, because we are at that point in our lives right now where we should be challenged. And she talks about 3 areas where we can come into that space of revolutionary love. And the first one is to love others. The second one is to love our opponents. And the third is to love ourselves. And if we don't do all 3, then we have thrown the scales out of balance, and we're not demonstrating the truth of our being, and we're not really bringing forth that powerful love that we can. So in that first idea that she has of see no stranger, she talks about the fact that She never sees a stranger. She might meet someone she hasn't met before. She might come in contact with someone she didn't know already, but they're not a stranger to her. It's not someone she needs to avoid or back away from. And so that's a really good place to be, because that's where we take it into that loving of others. She has a quote that says this: "May we begin to reimagine a world where we see no stranger, where no person is disposable, and emerge from this pandemic ready to remake the systems that crush us." You see, her belief is that it's not the people that trip us up and cause us challenge and harm. It's the systems that we have in place that often supports some of those behaviors. I absolutely believe that if you take the time to read her book, it will change your life. I felt like my heart was broken open numerous times, and I could only read a few pages at a time because the life she has led has been intense. She is a member of the Sikh faith, and that's spelled S-I-K-H. And she talks about kind of coming into her being and her awareness right after 9/11. When she saw on television the towers fall and heard of all of the drama, the trauma, and the loss that we as a nation had just gone through. And she said, and then in the next moments on the television screen was a picture of a man with a turban. And he looked like her grandfather. And so she started to move into that space of supporting people and finding out what was hers to do, and how she could be an activist and a voice for many people at that time and ongoing. She talks about the idea of seeing no stranger, where she looks at her son and she knows that her little boy can't be protected by her all the time. And because of the way he looks and the way he dresses and the color of his skin, he could be at harm at some point in time. Yet if we move into that space of see no stranger, I would be able to see that child as my own. Any one of us would be able to see anyone's children as our own and step in and protect them and help hold them safe. We can't accept the old concepts of love as just a good feeling in our bodies. We have to look at it as an action item and do more. Our philosophy, Science of Mind, I know for a fact, has saved lives. I've been in this philosophy since 1999, not a really long time, but a good amount of time. And I've met so many people, worked with so many people, counseled and coached people, had people in my classes who have come to me and told me that the path they were headed down was a destructive one, or the path that they were on was one where they were not feeling comfortable or confident about making their lives work. And this philosophy, this teaching, supported them. We are called to take action. We are called as religious scientists to go out into the world and to speak the truth, and to support people and learn to love others, to truly love them. When she talks about loving self, she talks about that very idea that many of us have been traumatized, and many of us as an entire species have been traumatized over and over and over again throughout the past year or so, just with all of the media that has shown up. And it is impossible for me in that place of hurt and pain and grief to support you until I take care of my own needs. So when we look at that idea of loving ourselves, we must love ourselves. We must step into that place of allowing ourselves to heal and allowing ourselves to grieve and allowing our strength to be recovered before we go out into the world. And so this is just simply awareness. And I just invite you to be aware of what it is in you, what it is in your world, and where you are in your experience, what you need to do. Because if you need to take care of yourself, then do that. And once you can do that, then you can love others. And then once we do that, we can move into loving our opponents. Octavia Butler says this: all that you touch, you can change. All that you change, changes you. The only lasting truth is change. So we are at this pinnacle of time, this moving into this new paradigm where everything is shifting and changing. And it always has, and it always will. But it seems like, it feels like maybe it's more critical now, that it's bigger, that it's more. And when we look at that idea of loving our opponents, a really great thing to look at is that our opponents are people who have been wounded. And they haven't learned how to heal their own wounds. They haven't learned how to embrace life at a level where they can move forward with that security and that sense of wellness and well-being. And so as we learn to love them, we can help administer to their wounds. We can help address the things that are hurting in them, but we cannot fix them or heal them. That is each individual's own personal responsibility and ability to do, to care for yourself. So we can love our opponents, we can love ourselves, we can love others. It takes strength, it takes energy, it takes courage. And so I invite you to pay attention to that and to be very aware of how you are showing up and how you are interacting with others. And sometimes we just need to listen to their stories, to listen to the stories of the plights of their lives and the things that they have overcome and the challenges that they've had, and allow that compassionate heart to be a part of the process of healing the planet. My friends, we are called to stop targeting others. We are called to stop making someone be the enemy. Let's look at the systems that need to be repaired and fixed, and let's look at supporting one another and loving one another, but let's stop targeting individuals, whether they be black or brown, people of color, indigenous people, whether they be people that are trans, or people that are queer, people that have a different faith or philosophy than me, people that have a different political belief than me. It doesn't matter. Humankind is all one. Biologically, we all have the exact same makeup. There is no such thing as biological race. Let's start putting our attention into this. Let's start creating systems and places where these people can come and worship and be connected and be part of community and be loved and feel love. Revolutions in consciousness bring change not only to ourselves, but to the planet. I believe that revolutionary love is a way of being. And I believe that revolutionary love is a beautiful way for us to step into this month and this time in action, in that adventure of life, and taking that step and that stand, not only for ourselves, but for one another, to rise up, to be part of that holy, holy uprising. The call to action this week is to take care of yourself. Do whatever you need to do to allow yourself to heal and feel whole. And then to turn your attention to loving others with action involved. And then to look at your opponents in life and how can you support them and how can you tend to their wounds. It may just be a kind thought or comment. It may just be eye contact and a simple connection. Whatever that is, let's take time this week. Let's pay attention to that. And let's take a stand for revolutionary love. Please pray with me. As I bring this message to a close right here and right now, I know that there are so many people everywhere who may or may not be aware that there is a power, that there is a presence, that there is a divine light in all things, and it is God, it is spirit, and it is good. But I know this, and I know this for all people, and I know that we are all connected to the divine in the divine, and that this power and presence expresses life through each of us in form, right here and right now. And knowing this and knowing that we each come from Source, I know that we're all connected. We are all one. We are united. We are unified. And I just bless all people everywhere. I take time to stand for revolutionary love and do what I need to do as far as taking action to create this new paradigm and supporting this planet and all people on it, inclusively. I choose to do my part. I choose to do what I need to do. And my prayer is that every one of us wakes up and recognizes what is ours to do. So I call it all good. I call it all blessed. I bless this week, this day. I bless each and every person. I bless the very idea of what we are about, knowing it's good and perfect. I just let it go and let it be. And so it is.
We are a part of each other. We are one tie that binds us, that can't be undone.